you're looking for someone to come save you, then take a good look in the mirror, because that's the only one that's going to save you.
Paulo loves this song.
Oh yeah, this is my intro music right here.
The walk-up song?
Yeah, the walk-up song. I love it.
Yeah.
Gets me pumped. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Two Stunads. I'm Paulo.
I'm Drew. What's going on, guys?
And today we got a pretty sweet interview. Want to just welcome everybody to the show. If you're a first-time viewer, thanks for stopping by. Thanks for clicking on us. If you're coming back, appreciate you guys. If you get anything out of today's episode, just want to ask you to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, leave us a comment. Really appreciate any kind of interactivity. So, today is going to be a pretty sweet episode. We got an episode with the awesome guy today. He did a little bit of work with when he started out in high school with tile setting. Went into the union. He's got a pretty interesting story about that and what he thought he was going to be doing versus what he did. Kind of how he almost flipped the script almost and took the reins into his own hands. But today he doesn't own one company. He doesn't own two companies. He owns three companies. So from setting tiles to owning three companies, we're going to talk about them. Welcome to the show, Mike Roberson.
What's up, Mike?
Thank
For
you.
sure, dude.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming on, man.
Excited to be here.
How's your day?
It's good. Trying to find to get here was a little difficult.
Yeah. I still can't. I got to find out who that was. That's odd. That never happened to me.
Yeah, we're in a friendly area. I can't believe people give me a hard time. I don't know.
Right.
Yeah, I mean,
It's a long way from where I grew up, too. I grew up in Addison, so it's far.
Get out of here.
yeah. No, but yeah, it's been I've known Mike for quite a bit, some time. Mike's a good guy, good family man. We got a lot of history together, well connected in the community. Big family guy. I can't hammer that enough, dude. Loves his family, loves his three kids. Does everything that we talk about today is for his kids. I know that deep in his heart. We've had these conversations off camera, so I'm really looking forward to interviewing Mike. And again, we are all over Apple, Spotify as well, guys. So if you guys aren't watching this video on YouTube, make sure you hit that like, subscribe, download. It really helps us out. But yeah, man, without further ado, we'll just kind of get into it. Just tell us a little bit where you grew up originally.
Well, I originally grew up in Addison, Illinois. Born and raised.
What part?
Well, Addison.
Yeah.
You know where Addison is?
It's just a whole long
Are you closer to the Elmhurst side? Or you?
No, I was on the... no, I'm probably right before Wooddale.
Okay.
Right before Wooddale.
Awesome.
So we're done on Mill Road. Right before we go over the 90 was my backyard.
Did you go to Addison Trail? Or
I did go to Addison Trail for 1 year.
What are they? The Trailblazers? What are they?
Trailblazers, yeah.
1 year.
1 year.
Where'd you go?
Then we moved to Bloomingdale.
Okay. From Bloomingdale, and then what's Bloomingdale High School?
Lake
Park?
Yeah.
I mean, they're not far from each other anyways,
No.
but yeah.
Play sports out there?
I did play football growing up, and I did play hockey growing up, and baseball.
Nice. Active guy. That's good. I'm sure that helped you out in the trades a little bit, right?
Yeah. How many siblings do you have?
As of today, I have one sister, but recently, I had my brother passed, and then when I was younger, I had a younger sister pass away as well.
Are you the youngest? Remind me.
I was the third youngest. So
youngest.
Yeah, I have an older sister.
What did your parents do?
Well, I grew up fatherless, so I had a mother who raised four of us. So,
Wow. How did I mean, it's crazy because I didn't know that. I mean, I never asked you that, but like, just see where you're at now, like so involved in your family.
Yeah,
it had to be a big catalyst.
I did everything that didn't have. I did everything that I just didn't have for my children.
Oh, for sure, 100%.
I mean, it was honestly, it was such an enjoyment to be able to do that.
Who did you lean on at that young age? Did you have uncles or?
I was close to an uncle, and I also had a very good friend of mine's father who kind of took over that role model a little bit.
Yeah, was he in the trades too, or what?
No. I got into the trades I was telling Paulo a little earlier, just in a quick banter, but I was just saying, I didn't finish high school. I just stopped showing up.
So 1 year high school, and then you went.
I just stopped showing up my senior year.
Okay.
And then I just think they sent me a diploma just because what I went through. That
They didn't want any
my
more
senior year.
headaches.
No, they
Fucking
actually
Roberson,
said,
just
you know,
give them the A,
if you want
fucking
to
pass.
graduate, you're going to have to go to summer school. I said,
Like-
well, I didn't go to regular school, so I don't
Yeah.
think
I'm
summer
not
school is
going
an
to
option.
summer school, brother.
18, didn't graduate. How did you get into the trades?
I needed a job. You know, I was just working a couple furlough jobs, and my mother at the time said, listen, a friend of the family was looking for a helper. So I'm going to help him set fire. He owned his own company, just a single guy that built homes. And I did that for about 2.5 years. And then I wanted more. So I had a chance. A friend of mine said to me, hey, there's a union company looking to hire. So I said, he said, give this guy a call. So I decided to pick up the phone and give him a call.
Yeah.
And I talked to him. I interviewed over the phone, and we talked about the position, and he said, "Okay, sounds good." Never heard back from him for about 3 months.
Really? That's one of those jobs too. Like, because you were it wasn't like there was an apprenticeship when you were starting off.
No.
It was learning on the job.
Right.
Is this what you got to do every day? You learn what you do. You fuck up, fix it, keep moving on.
So he didn't hire me. So I ran into a friend, but I ran into him about 2 months later, and I said, "Whatever happened? Why didn't they hire me?" And he said, "You were asking for too much money." And I said, "He said that?" And he said, "Yeah." I said, "Okay." Went home, called the guy.
Nice.
And I said, "Hey, this is Mike Roberson. Do you remember?" He said, "I do." I said, "Why didn't you offer me the job?" And he said, "You wanted too much money." I said, "No, you asked me how much I was making,
Yeah.
and I answered it."
Right.
He said, "Well, I didn't think you'd take a pay cut."
Did you ask me that?
And I didn't. No, I said that. I said, "You didn't make me an offer."
Right.
So I said, "Is the job still available?" And he said, "Yeah." I said, "Well, what are you offering?" He says, "Well, we'll pay you $8 an hour."
Wow.
What year was this?
86.
Wow.
I said, "I'll take it."
Yeah.
And
I'll go backwards. We all know, take
Sure.
a punch or two to
Yeah.
get in the middle, to get inside. So I started working. Within 6 weeks, they gave me a raise immediately. So that's what I was doing. But I was truck driving. I was delivering the company. I was delivering material in a van, hand load, hand unload jobs. I mean, you name it.
that shit's heavy, man.
In the city, into the
Yeah.
stairs, you name it.
No elevator.
Well, some had elevators, but some didn't. So
Did you think that you were going to be laying tile though with this?
correct. My whole intent was to go there and to be put into a union and to be a union tile setter.
Because that's what you knew what to do. You knew tile.
I wanted a pension.
gaps,
I wanted a
sure,
pension.
right.
I wanted insurance. I wanted a pension like we all do, right?
Right.
So I didn't know any other different. So I finally went to him one day and said, "This is not what I want to do."
Yeah.
And they said, "Well, we see something a little different in you." And I said, "What's that?" They said, "Well, we would like to teach you the inside of the business.
Mm-hmm.
Teach you how to read blueprints, take off jobs.
That's cool.
But if you want to do that, you're going to have to come in on Saturdays on your own time, and we'll come in with you. But you have to still do your job and learn as you go."
Is this the gentleman that you interviewed with telling you this?
Correct.
Or is it
This
okay?
was the guy who originally did.
Let me ask you something. Do you think it would have been a different outcome if you didn't call him back and say, "Hey, this is me"?
Absolutely.
Do you remember?
Oh.
Because I feel like that really sets the tone ahead of time.
Yeah, there's two things there, guys. First thing is that Mike had the balls to actually call the guy back and, hey,
Where you at?
what's going on? Why didn't I get the job? Did I say something? Did I
Correct.
do something wrong? What was the issue? First and foremost, you got to communicate. The second thing is, guys, Mike again, okay, he went to his boss and he communicated, "Hey, this isn't what I planned on doing. What's going on here?" They have obviously a different plan for him. If you don't do that, and if you guys are watching, you guys are working for somebody, for one, if you're not communicating and having an understanding of what the vision of the company is, you're just going to be a pawn in their scheme. And second of all, for a boss to say, "Hey, we think that instead of you laying tile, doing the labor work, we think you have more smarts, more education to do the back end," that's a great boss right there. And then he's going to come in on Saturdays to help you do the work.
Yes, I came in. I would go in every Saturday from like 7 in the morning till like noon, and I would do a blueprint takeoff. And they would backtrack it all and to make sure I was looking good and I was understanding it. What helped that I understood what a job site looked like.
Sure.
Anyone just can flip open a blueprint and say, this is a floor plan. But if you don't know what a job site actually looks like, you're lost.
Yeah, it's a little more difficult.
Absolutely.
It's a little more difficult.
So it became very easy. And then I just gradually moved up the ladder and just worked my way up, and kind of they worked themselves out, and I took over.
How many years were you working there before you took over?
Well, 86, and from 2003, I took over.
Okay. Wow, so you put some time in.
Yeah.
That's
But they were great, 2 family men that just took care of me, just my family. They were at my wedding. My kids were born. They were a part of it all.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I think I want to make a point there too, guys. From, what did you say, 80, what was the year you started working there?
86.
Okay, so from 86 to 2003, that's quite a bit of time to put in the work. Let's make it understand, guys, that it's not happening overnight.
Right.
Okay, this isn't like even now, from what you did in 03 to where it's at now, it's not an overnight thing. But you got to put in the effort day in and day out, bring people together, and have a vision. So let's make that super clear, guys. If you're watching the show and you're getting pissed off every day that, oh, it's not getting better, you don't see production, every day you get up and you put an inch in, it's going to turn into a foot. It's going to turn into a yard. It's going to turn into a mile over time. But you got to get up and do the work. It's not going to happen overnight.
Yeah. Yeah, and coasting, you touched on this a little bit. Coasting is a dangerous place to be.
Well, you could have coasted. You could have been like, yeah, fuck it, I'm just going to be a laborer and just lift this tile up and down these stairs.
I mean, it's a good living. Don't get me wrong.
That's not coasting, though. I'm sorry to cut you off, but that's not coasting. Is
coasting in the sense of him not communicating and saying, hey, this wasn't what I wanted.
Right.
Content. Is a good word.
There you go.
Yeah.
As far as just you wanting more, everyone wants more, but is everyone willing to go work and get more?
Now, when your boss said, "Hey, I think I got a different idea for you," what was your first thought? Like, wow, he actually believes in me? Did he give you a fire? Or what was the?
No, I went home, and I discussed it with my mother at the time, and and at the time it was my girlfriend, who is actually my wife today.
Yeah.
I discussed it with her, and and everyone was like, "What do you have? Nothing to lose. You only have, you can always go back and." And say, this is still not what I want to do.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
can still go back and do it, but I would be a busted up old 59-year-old right now.
And we see them all the time in the clinic for sure.
Do.
Yeah. When did you start dating Kathy, your wife?
1987.
1987.
Yeah.
And you guys have been together for how many years now?
Almost 38, right?
Yeah, we've been 30. It's 30. We're married 33. And together for 38 years.
Yeah. How much of a asset do you think she's been in your life from where you started with nothing to where you're at now?
She is my right hand for sure. I mean, that is probably the most important decision in life that anyone can ever make. If you're going to get married, just make sure that you have somebody that's going to be beside you. And she is my number one fan. So she'll always say, you always seem to make the right decision, or whatever you decide to do, I back you on it.
Yeah.
So
it's nice to see too, like when you have somebody that has come from nothing and has built such a legacy with their family and with business, just to see that transition, like it's tough to find. Like we were talking about this, offline, just with finding a spouse. Like, how do you know this person is going to be committed 100% no matter what? Like, they could live in a box or they can live in a mansion. It's so tough to find nowadays, especially for the younger generation. People are just, whether they're getting divorced constantly or whatever, it's just to find somebody like that, like a unicorn, it's so difficult.
I say this to a lot of people, and I've said it to her. I believe she was sent to me.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
I believe in that. I'm not a real religious guy, but I do believe in the fact that she definitely was sent from the heavens above, for sure.
That's beautiful. It sounds like not many ladies would put up with the with your stuff.
She put up with a lot, that's for sure.
Yeah.
So tell us how many kids you got.
I have 3.
Okay.
3
kids, boys, girls. What do you got?
I have my oldest. My oldest is Mike. He's 30, and I have boy-girl twins, Tracy and Joey, that are 27.
Okay, so Mike was born what,
95.
95?
June
June 95.
Yeah.
Where were you guys living then?
We lived in Bartlett.
Okay, lived in Bartlett.
Yep.
Are you still living in Bartlett, or where you at now?
No, I live in Wayne, Illinois now.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So, what about Mike? As far as, because I know he's working with you with the tile. How did he get involved in that, or how did you did you bring him on jobs, or did you show him the ropes? How did that kind of start?
Actually, he was he was a Division I baseball player. He was a catcher. He was chasing his dream for sure. I mean, he surprises me every single day because he is absolute leader.
Yeah.
I mean, one thing I say about, he's taught me things over the years, the last few years that I just have to sit back and go, wow, I didn't even think of that way.
Yeah.
But no, he didn't. He had nothing to do with the trades. He had nothing to do with work. He went to school, and he played baseball. That's all he did.
Did he ever say, "Hey, Dad, like I want to take over the business. I want to run this. I want to build it to somewhere else and build that legacy"? Or
I probably wouldn't say that he had word for word for that, but his demeanor is it's just natural for
his
him.
actions. Yeah,
just like myself. He is probably a spitting image of me.
Yeah, 100%.
So as far as just going after it and just wanting more and just
And let's talk about that as far as spitting image. Let's talk about like what Mike does, Mike Jr. What does he do like on a day-to-day basis? Like what's his typical hours so that when the viewers are kind of watch this, they can understand what it takes to run a company at that level. How many hours is he working a day?
I mean, that can fluctuate, but I mean, he's putting in for sure 10, 11-hour days.
Yeah. On top of it, he's got a kid.
Right.
As well.
He has a baby.
Yeah.
He's going to be, my grandson will be 2 in December.
Yeah. So it's a lot. And how old is he?
Mike is 30.
He's 30 years old,
yeah.
guys.
Wow.
And how many guys work for Regency?
Right now, about 45.
Yeah. That's a lot. That's a lot on his plate, man. He's killing it. I mean, we don't see that very often as far as grinders.
And job sites are all in the city, so it's not like it's just like we run a production company. I mean, it's
all over the city.
8, 9 jobs going on at one time.
Right. And it's mostly commercial, you said,
it's
right?
all commercial, yes.
It's all commercial.
Right.
Yeah, so you're at different places at different times.
No one wants to work for Mrs. Cosentino. That's why I always say that.
How many years did it take you until you kind of transitioned Mike into being what's his title, CEO or chief officer?
He's vice president for sure, but he runs the company. I look at myself as a kind of a operations manager behind the scenes.
Sure.
He'll call me for advice and stuff like that. And if there's something that I need to get involved in that he would like me to get involved in, but that's few and far in between these days for sure.
Yeah. When did he start working for Regency?
He started, I want to say, I want to say summer. Don't hold me to exact, but I believe it was 2017.
Yeah.
17 or 16 or 17.
How did that start out? I don't know if we talked about that. Did he come to you and say, "Hey"?
He was playing
baseball.
He was playing baseball. He was playing college ball, and then he kept playing, and then he just decided that he had enough. And I just said, "Well, this will always be here, so I want you to make sure that you don't have any regrets once you walk away."
Sure.
Right? Because you don't want to be 26 going, "What did I just do?" Mm-hmm. Right? So
that's nice to do, Mike.
So I said,
a lot.
I'd like to see you stick around for a week or so, or just give it. See if you can find the passion that got to where you got. Because everyone told you couldn't get to the level where you're at, and you did get to the level where you're at. So
I like that a lot.
And so I said, this will be here when you're done. So
whether it's a year, 2 years, 3 years, I got it. Don't worry about it.
And then he decided that he was done, and I said, "Well, come on home and let's make some money together." But at the time when he came home, my youngest son Joey was playing JUCO ball in Tennessee, and he said, "Dad, let's jump on a plane. Let's go see Joey. I want to talk to him." So we flew out to see Joey. We surprised Joe that Mike was there. And we went to lunch, and then he just told his as a big brother, he says, "You finish this." He says, "Just because I'm done doesn't mean you have to be done. So I want you to keep going and just finish this. Don't worry about what I'm doing."
Right.
Right. So because they're close.
Yeah,
Yeah,
3
this
years
was
apart.
it.
You
It's like, well, my brother's home. I might come home too now.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
so then and it was the best thing we did. And Mike came and we came back home. He started working, and I actually what I did for the first 6 months is I put him on the truck with one of my drivers.
Learn the
Learn.
business.
I said, you need to go learn. You need to learn the products. You need to learn job sites. You need to understand all this, and then I'll slowly move you into the office as far as taking off and doing, an estimator. And he just had leadership roles that were just insane.
I want to question about like him growing up. Like, did you ever, like, when you were doing, I don't know if you did jobs or if you just only worked with the union, but like, did you ever say, hey, come check this out, or hey, I'm gonna go tile the bathroom, come take a look at this, take a look what Dad's doing? Did that ever happen? Never happened.
I brought him to the office. I mean, I'd jump in the truck and say, I got to go to the office for a little while, and he'd come with me and do that.
The office.
But never a job site.
Mike Jr.'s a guy that, like, when he puts his like eyes on something he wants, he's laser focused in. Like, and if that's what he's dialed in for baseball, that's what he's 100% committed to. Not like everything is whatever, forget it.
Yeah.
But like that's his number one thing with tile. Like, and you could see guys like that. Like, if he's dialed in, he's committed. He's committed 100%. And that's the same thing for Joey too. But Mike is a little bit more serious. Joey's more of a little bit ball buster. They're two different personalities, both extremely close, dude. Those are guys that you want on your team.
Yeah.
Both athletic wise and the guy that you want to call, no matter what.
I would agree with you there. That definitely, those are two boys that you would want on your side.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, I mean, how old's Joe? He's
27.
27.
Yeah,
yeah, and he's running your other company, which we'll kind of get into. But yeah, Mike is like the older brother. He takes that with a lot of pride, taking care of his two younger siblings for sure. I mean, every time you pick up the phone, no matter what, like he's dialed into work. It's what it is. What do you need? He's quick. This is it.
I could tell you a quick story about the two that will never, ever get old telling this story and how they became. So Joe, leaving high school, was going on to play college ball. They never got a chance to play together based on the age.
Sure.
So Joe was a good pitcher through high school, but was being recruited as a first baseman, lefty first baseman, didn't throw hard as a pitcher. But Mike decided to come back down and play at the college level where he can play with his brother. So it was still a very good college summer ball team, but they got to play with each other. And halfway through the summer, they were running out of pitching. So Mike says, my brother can pitch. And Joey's like, well, that's a real dick move. Because I don't want to
I've been
pitch
playing
anymore.
first base.
I'm comfortable over here, Mike. What the fuck?
Yeah.
So he ended up getting pitcher of the league.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
And then he made it to the championship game, the championship series. And game 2, they lost game 1, and then Joey was starting game 2. And it was like 4,000 people at the stadium, and it was great. Joey pitching, Mike catching.
Yeah, and Joey doesn't miss, dude. He don't miss, man.
And you couldn't ask for a better thing as a father to watch that, And they were winning. Like Joey was winning, throwing a shutout. It was 8-0, and he's never gonna. In his eyes, he's never gonna pitch again.
Sure.
So he decides to gives up a home run against a kid, and this kid stands at the plate and he's watching it. Now he's got his brother behind the plate going.
Sure.
Get running.
Yeah.
Fuck
out of here.
And now Joey's walking around the mound, chirping the kid too.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love that about Joey, dude.
He's a little snappy.
So, the umpire at home says to Mike, "Hey man, I don't want no trouble here." And he's like, "Well, you tell this guy to just respect the game.
Keep running. Yeah.
So it's heated now. The fans are going at it. It's getting heated. And so the next, calms down. So game 3 is the next day, Sunday. Okay. And Joey is through 138 pitches, so
it's a lot.
He finished the game. He's like, because I figured this is the last time I'm ever pitching.
Sure.
And the kid comes walking over and says, "Hey, I just want to apologize for my actions yesterday." And Joe says, "Listen, I get it." He goes, "The kid hit the home run. Didn't play for his team. He was, sat the bench his freshman year." So he ends up saying to the boys, yeah, just want to apologize. And Joey says, I get it. No problem, man. And Mike turns and says, are you playing today? And he says, yeah. He says, what inning you want to get hit?
Mike is
Mike asked that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mike was a prick behind the plate.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he says, I can't let you disrespect my pitcher or my brother, and he goes, you're eating one. So
Joey's like a happy-go-lucky guy, man. Yeah, Joey's definitely like a happy-go-lucky, like, dude, he'll go to bat for you, like, no matter what.
Joey's a trooper. Joey's for sure a trooper.
Yeah, they're so close, man. Like, I tell them all the time, like, you guys are so lucky that you guys have each other. To have two grinders is in a family like that, like, and then again, they're so close, and not just in age, but just together that they can bounce ideas off and whatnot. It's like having a guy.
But my toughest one is my daughter. That we always seem to be leaving my daughter out, who is by far the one that you don't want to mess with.
Okay.
You know, so.
What's your daughter's name?
Tracy.
And she's 27, just
she's
like Joey.
27. Yeah, she's got a baby, and she's actually pregnant. She's got another one due in this December as well.
Nice, awesome.
Yeah. So
that's exciting stuff. That's exciting stuff.
We'll go back to Tracy, but I just want to say too, like, those are guys like Mike and Joey, like, where we've talked about this on the show. Like, you have that one guy that's like a friend that you know of, like, we're like, hey, Mike, like, you know, you're being a fucking dick, or you're doing this. Like, those are the guys that'll be like, they'll tell you, hey, you're doing something wrong. I'm only telling you this because I want you to be better.
Right.
Which is a guy you need
Right.
And you can choose, when you hear that, you can choose to do one of two things. You can say, fuck you, that's not, you know what, I'm doing this, you don't know the whole story. Or you could say, yeah, maybe you're right. Let me fix this.
100%.
And you know,
you got a guy like that, Mike?
Putting up walls is a dangerous place to be.
Say it again?
You got a guy like that?
That can help you out, that will call you out?
I have some friends that, absolutely. I have a very close friend that you'll soon meet.
Yeah.
I grew up with. He was his father was one of my mentors. You know that, but he'll turn and say, "Fuck you doing?"
Yeah, I think it's so critical, man. I really do, because like you might be so like focused on one thing, and if you're dialed in, and you know, like you don't take a step back and see how maybe you saying this or doing this comes off the wrong way. Not that you mean it intentionally, but you got to have guys like that. You know, I think it keeps everyone humble, focused, because if you don't, you can just go off the rails.
Yeah.
Yeah, one thing I learned over the years, 59, is that you know you learn to just, I mean, for advice to anybody is just surround yourself with the right people. Mm-hmm. Just cut out anything that's toxic for sure, and just keep your friends that you know that have your back, that want to be your friend, and they're there for the right reasons.
Let's talk about that. How did you dive into, like, when you started, or when you were working for Regency and then you took it over? Did you have like a pivot of friend groups, or like what? Because we talk about all the time on the show, like, you know, you have friends, and then that basically goes down from an ocean to a lake to a pond to basically like a
lily
bath.
pad. Yeah.
Yeah, I actually probably would say no to that. I actually this was all me just pushing forward, knowing that at some point in my life, I literally was just like, I don't want to be mediocre anymore. You know, I want better things for my family, and I want a better life, you know, and I wouldn't say that owning a tile company, you're going to become this, you know, wealthy man, you know, but you become self-efficient, where you're in control of your own destiny for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's the most important thing.
What did you have when you took over Regency? What was your vision? Where was your end goal with that? If, you know, before you had the kids?
You know what? That's a great question, because be honest with you, I didn't.
You were just like, let's go.
I'm fucking winging it.
Yeah.
You know, get up every day and I'm going to wing it. And
figure it out.
You saw things, though, that the other owners weren't really, you know, excited about. So you're like, I got to change that, or I got to tweak the way we do this.
They were older men. So there were some older guys that were old school guys, you know, hardcore, just they worked hard. They built their company. You know, they were actually union tile setters at one point. Mm-hmm. And they just, how I took it over was one day I, you know, working hard and building, and I just felt the resistance coming from them. Like, you got two guys that are 65 years old at the time, you know, and I'm a 37-year-old, and I want more. But I couldn't get more because
they were comfortable.
Yeah,
exactly.
And out of respect, I don't blame them. But they're like, why would I push myself or expose myself?
Or stay here.
You know,
Yeah.
we had an opportunity to do a $2 million job and they turned it down because they figured they would be in business too long. And I said that was kind of the straw that broke the camel's back by me saying, well, I'm building something here. I want to build something. I followed your lead, but I can't sit back as you guys are going, well, you know, you're 65 years old and I don't want to do this anymore. So
they probably thought too, like, who's going to buy us out, or what are we doing? We're done. You know,
we always had talks of that being the plan, but there was never a plan.
Yeah.
So it literally was a Thursday or Friday morning. I had a meeting. I met with a company to start bidding more work to these guys. So it was like a sales meeting where I sat and brought donuts and we all sat in a room and we talked and I sold. And then basically you're selling yourself. You know, I always say that, you know, when you do a restaurant and you hire a flooring company to do it, 99% of the time it's going to look exactly the way it's designed on a blueprint. But what can we do different? Or what can I be different? Sell myself, sell my service, be better at the next person. So,
how do you guys do that for Regency? How do you guys, like, how does Mike do that now?
Same way, service.
Reputation,
just service, reputation, you know, communication is everything. You know, bottom line is price drives, but sometimes they'll pay more to use it knowing that the job's going to get done right. Everything, once they hire the right company, they don't have to worry about, you know, the little
somebody
things.
not showing up or shit not getting done or fucking up the timeline. Correct. That's a huge thing for me. I'd rather pay a little bit more knowing this guy's going to get it done. I got no headaches versus, okay, this is fucked up. That's fucked up. Now it's delayed. Guy doesn't show up.
You're going to spend the same amount in the long run. You're going to spend the same amount. Like, because you got to
spend more. You got to spend double. How many times, Mike?
Yeah.
I mean, if you probably come into a job where they're like, hey, these guys fucked it up. I need you to fix it, figure it out, and then you got that account now. I mean, it's got to have happened before.
Yeah, that definitely happens.
You know,
it definitely happens. I mean, and vice versa. You know, what I mean, I could easily have a falling out. Where you know, I'm a short-tempered guy. You know, so I
way. I don't believe it for a second. I don't believe it for a second.
Yeah. There's been a few times when it was like, you know, it's like, you know, you only could take so much. You know, and then you know, but I believe that comes with respect when you are standing for what you believe in. You know, I believe people respect that more than they would if you decide to say, because you're giving me a job, that means I owe you something.
Right.
I owe you a great service, a great quality, and you owe me money.
Yeah,
that's
a trade of services.
That's it. Yeah. I don't expect anything else, and I don't do the same on the other end. When I'm purchasing materials, I don't expect I'm giving someone. I want good service. That's what it is. So again, the result is all going to look the same, especially with a commercial. You know, all the projects I've done. You know, you would be surprised because you'd probably know half of them. You know, but
That's the difference maker. That trump card is the service, 100%. I think that's in a lot of businesses too.
It sets you apart, right? It kind of sets you apart from, because like you said, at the end of the day, you're getting tile, right? But you're also, how do you make them feel?
Right. It's just having a conversation, you know, and I always try to tell that to my team now, especially with Mike, and Mike taught him that, is that, man, don't hide behind email. Try to bring back the old school style. Try to get conversations.
Right. I love that.
People are getting really just focused on AI, and it's just like talking to a machine all the time, that they love talking to people.
Any
now.
chance you have an opportunity to pick up the phone and ask a question, I want them to hear your passion or hear your knowledge that you know what you're doing. Don't just, there's so many times, well, just send me an email. Mm-hmm. And it's just like, no, I want to talk to you.
Yeah.
You know, I need to talk to you so we can have a conversation. That's the thing I really want.
I get more done, dude, in a phone call for 2 minutes than I do sending 10 emails back and forth.
Absolutely.
Like with Joe, I called Joe today at 11. It was like, you know, what's going on? Okay, this cool. We're gonna get you going. See you tomorrow. Boom. Like versus, hey Joe, how are you? Nice to meet you. Go back and forth, and you know, it's like I like that personal level. I don't know if that's old school. I mean, I guess it is, but like.
That is old school.
It's just, I feel like I can understand what the person wants, what's going on, like versus just getting bombarded with emails all day.
Yeah, and believe me, and the way the industry has changed so much too, it's next to impossible to get anything done because you got to remember everything's wired, everything's right there, and I'm talking about, these are $2, $3, $4, $500,000 jobs. These are not,
Sure.
these are not $3,000 jobs. So all of a sudden, we send out a price, we send over the quote, and we start, my estimators start working on another one, and then all of a sudden, an email comes through saying, here's a revision. I need this afternoon. It's like, man, you started something else, and now I got to stop and go here. And it's insane today.
It's a fast game.
Yeah. The technology, the way they pushed it along.
Yeah, I kind of want to go back to when you had that talk with the prior owners of Regency. How did you go about purchasing them? Did you get a bank loan? If you did, what bank did you use? How did you go about it? Did you have cash that you went down? How did that work? Because there's a lot of people watching too that are, whether they want to buy a business or start a business.
Similar position.
How much should I have saved?
Yeah.
What are the fears of doing that? You got to have personal guarantees. A lot of stress like that. Not just in that, but with your marriage, things like that.
Yeah, I would probably tell everyone, I had an opportunity, and that's how I call it. So mine was an opportunity. So I started saying earlier, so I had a meeting, and it was a Friday morning, and I went in, did a sales meeting, and then went back to the office. And one of the owners was like, what's going on? Where you been all morning? I said, I was over here. I was trying to get these guys more company, more business. And they're like, everything that you're doing really seems to be benefiting you and not really benefiting us. And I said, well, why don't we make today your last day?
That's weird for them to say.
I promise you
so
that. I promise you that is as true as a story as I've ever said.
How do you say that as an owner?
Well, because they were just, it probably was such old school, didn't know how to let go.
Sure.
You know what I mean? That's their baby. You know what I mean? They started it, so, and
they're almost like pissed off that you were like doing your job.
But
fuck.
These owners, like they were. What you were doing was for the company. It wasn't for you.
No, it was not. I was not benefiting from it at all. A little bit of a bonus based, at the end of the year.
Okay.
On sales.
Well, someone's got to look out for
Of course, but
right.
I'm trying to grow. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This is what, and they literally looked at each other like, you want to take over Monday? I'm like, yeah.
What do we got to do?
It was as easy as that.
Yeah.
It really was. And fortunate for me, I took that opportunity. I had jobs that were in the pipeline. They gave me those jobs that didn't start yet.
I mean,
perfect.
Contract-wise.
I mean,
perfect.
And
So you had the AR coming in.
I probably had about $200,000 to $300,000 in work
Prepped, ready to go.
Down the line.
Yeah.
So I had some money saved up. I hustled. I did side work. I did everything, to being a bookie, to doing everything I could to save money.
Yeah.
To save up, knowing that I'm going to have to put my money in place here.
Yeah.
How did that feel, that risk?
I embraced it.
It sounds like you were ready for it.
I was.
You wanted to just
I was
tackle it.
I was done.
Like.
I was so done because I love those guys to death. I still talk to them, and but it was just like, I'm ready. I want to move on now.
Sure. Sure. And you kind of felt almost not handcuffs, but kind of like, like it could be better.
It was two guys that did everything and myself.
Okay.
And within, we came up with an agreement price. The price they gave me to buy the company was, you would laugh, And if I don't know if I should say or not.
Was it too expensive, or was it not?
No, they came at me with every tool, every job, everything, and then they wanted $125,000.
Oh my God.
A truck. So I
fucking student loans are more than that.
I gave them $25,000, and they said give us $33,000 over the next 3 years. I had them paid off in 4 months.
Beautiful, man. Just put yourself in the right opportunity.
That opportunity, bro.
You put yourself there, man.
And that's what I always say. I was, people say, I wasn't given anything, but I was definitely given an opportunity to.
And you seized it.
Correct.
You seized it. You didn't think twice.
And it just took off because I doubled the numbers the following year. And I disappointed them because they were in the city. They were at Austin. They were pretty close to like Austin and Higgins downtown,
Sure.
Like on the west side. And I was living at Bartlett at the time. And I just my wife was at that point, my kids were going to school and daycare, or not daycare, but kindergarten. So I'm like, at this point, I think I need to move this business closer back home. So I actually ended up buying a building and, a smaller building, and then moved into that. And I think I really broke their hearts when I had to leave them, because I think they were looking to be this old Italian club where they can show up and have coffee and maybe do a blueprint here or there when they felt like doing it, because they really weren't set up to retire.
Sure.
They really didn't have a plan.
Yeah.
So. But they are the two salt of the earth, man. That's for sure. That's, to me, those were my guardian angels for sure.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. I'm sure that you mentioned that you were in Bartlett and you traveled downtown every day.
Yeah, every day.
I can't
That's
imagine.
a commitment, man.
I can't imagine. For those that are not watching, that are watching, not familiar with Bartlett and downtown Chicago, that's an hour drive.
Yeah, it was tough.
30 miles.
I had to be down there at 6 a.m. I had to be, and most of the time my deliveries were, I started out to be down there, or checking jobs and stuff like that. And you wanted to be down there early because you want to get out of there early.
Right.
It's
a mess.
Yeah.
It's a mess. You drive,
Definitely.
or what'd you do? Take the train?
No,
or?
I drove company truck. So no, yeah, for sure. Yeah, for sure. So
That's
then
big.
within a year I hired as I took over, it was tough on my wife. So I said, I'm going to hire an assistant, and I hired an estimator and then another estimator. And, it just kept going.
How do you find these guys? Because we struggle with hiring too. When's the last time you hired somebody?
I'm in the process right now. So
Let's talk about that, because I really want to know. As I'm trying to get better at being better at hiring people, and it's tough. People work for me. They stay with us for a long time, but it's hard to find.
Well, you have a good
people.
workplace element, number one.
Sure.
So it's when people are happy to show up and come to work, they're gonna come to you. That's for sure. When I walk in your place, I look at it like, how would you not want to work here?
You feel it, the energy, everything's great.
You're great,
the
great
music,
energy.
it's clean. Right. Yeah, absolutely.
Mr. TikTok sensation over there.
Make sure you like and subscribe.
Hit that notification bell.
Yeah. What are you hiring for?
Another estimator. Yeah.
Right. Where do you go to school to be this, or is this something you learn on the job? And then
So I'm leaving this one up to my son. So at this point, he's come up to the conclusion that he doesn't want to hire anyone that doesn't know anything about the business. He doesn't want anyone walking in that door telling him, I do it this way. Well, I do it this way.
Open to learn.
So now I want to teach you our way.
Right.
But that takes a lot of time too.
But it's worth it.
I agree.
My best employee at this point, one of my best was that exact one. He didn't know anything about the business, and now he's my top now he's definitely my top salesman.
Yeah, if you could bring somebody who has a drive and a want to learn, and be able to teach them your system, and then you incentivize them, you have a good culture, they'll stay with you forever.
Yeah,
but it's the people that they come in and they go, well, this is what we did at this other job or my other company. They're either not on board with your brand and what you do, or they're just like, fuck it, I'm just going to do it my way, and they cause problems at the end of the day.
Yep, they do.
Yeah,
they do. I've seen both a little bit in my line of work too, and there's some good in like having that experience and having we did it like this before, or maybe there's a way that you've never seen something done, and sometimes it could be beneficial, but the openness or willingness to learn is definitely.
Well, we'll go back a little bit to what you emphasize on with Mike, bringing Mike in. So every day Mike would call me and say, Dad, hey, what do you think of this? What do you think of this? And, and I gave him the answer, every day, I'll do it this way. Why don't you do it this way? So then one day I said, I'm no longer going to do this.
You told him that, or?
No.
Okay. You decided.
So I said, he called me one day and he says, hey, I got a problem. I said, okay. I said, what's going on? And he told me the situation. I said, well, what do you think? I go, you've been doing this long enough now. And what would you do? And he said, he said to me, he says, well, you want me to tell you? I said, yeah, I want you to tell me what you think you would do without me behind you telling you what to do. And so I said, just because I'm confident in giving the answers because it's my company. It's the only reason why I have confidence. I go, but you might come up with a better way to get this figured out. And ever since, that was the best thing I've ever done.
Absolutely.
Because from there, he just took it and ran.
Was that difficult for you to do?
Not at all. Not for my son.
You had confidence in him?
It's a
Absolutely.
good lesson. I mean, to kind of summarize it, Mike basically taught him how to fish, and then again gave him the opportunity to fish instead of just keeping him,
Giving him the fish.
giving him the fish.
He gave me the best analogy one day because I tried telling him. I said, when you deal with employees, you cannot teach, treat everyone the same way.
Agreed.
And he said, Dad, do you think I walked out to the mound to talk to every pitcher the same way? He said, I have to coddle one. I'd have to get on one's ass, light him on fire, figure it out. But I couldn't go handle every pitcher the same. And I said, that's a perfect analogy because that's exactly what you're going to be dealing with.
Yeah, it's crazy how sports can just relate so well into like a business, entrepreneur like that. I mean, you got to think. I mean, I didn't think about that. Yeah, I guess you're right. As a pitcher, you can't tell this guy, hey, you're doing shitty or whatever. Like, hey, man, calm down. Like it depends who you're talking to, right? Some guys you can talk to a little bit more spicier. Some guys you got to be a little bit more softer. It's definitely, that's definitely, I like that.
Yeah, it was a great way to put it, and Joe's, going back to baseball terms, he was the complete opposite, so I can remember my last year coaching Joey on the baseball mound, on the mound. He was 15. He was leaving to go play for a higher level team because he was actually pretty good, and he couldn't find a strike zone for the life of him. And this is just a funny story where this is going. And I walk out to the mound and I looked at him. I go, hey man, I need you to throw strikes out here. And he looks at me. He goes, no shit. He goes, what do you think I'm trying to do?
Oh man.
He goes, you could have screamed that one from the bench. That's Joey.
Joey's hard on himself, man. He's hard on himself.
Sure.
He's definitely hard on himself.
Sounds like it. Let's pivot real quick. Does he own or does he work for the second company that you?
So I have Mark One Landscape is a company that a friend of mine I grew up and went to high school with. He was doing all the work at my house when I was doing all the brick pavers, and then we got the conversation, getting caught up. He did all my irrigation for years on my properties, and then we discussed about purchasing, and he was talking about purchasing another company, and I said, well, what do you need to come, stronger? And he said, I need a good partner and we need some money. And I said, well, let's figure it out. And we went to dinner a few times and we come up with an agreement, and we started Mark One Landscape. And it was
when was that? What year?
It's been 9 years.
Wow, it's gone so far, man. I feel like it was yesterday.
Yeah.
That's crazy. 9 years.
9 years. Yeah. And it's just growing. And he has been and we have a great understanding. He is the labor side. I'm the business side and the, monetary side. So we have a great understanding. And then when Joe was done, I said, I'm going to bring Joe in here. And that's the kid that calls me every day and just wants to learn more, wants more. And he just, keep me involved, Dad. Let me know how it goes. If I'm going to a meeting, let me know. He's on it.
Thirsty for knowledge.
He wants to be that fly on the wall, just listening.
He does.
What's
That's
going
a
on.
great analogy. That's exactly what he wants.
He's always hungry to learn.
So he is a pleasure. They both are, but I love being with Joe because he's just fun to be around.
He's a funny guy. I like Joe.
Yeah.
And so you update him regularly. Is there a point where it's like there's nothing there for you. Don't worry about it, or we'll talk about it later.
It's the other way around, Paulo. He says that to me.
Does he?
Yeah. You're good here, Dad. You can go.
That's great.
Yeah.
When you guys when you came together with Andy for Mark One, how many accounts did you guys have originally? Because you guys did landscape in the summer, snowplow in the winter.
No, we didn't do snowplow.
No, you didn't do snowplow.
Joey pushed the snowplow.
Wow.
That was Joe. That was my son, wanting more. He's like, we need to do more.
Something in the winter.
Mind you, I knew nothing about it. You know, but Andy did. And Andy didn't really want to deal with it because it's a headache.
Yeah, it's
and
a lot
for
of
sure
work.
a headache, So
And just real quick, Andy is the owner,
Andy Moore is my business partner.
business partner. Okay.
Co-owner.
Yes.
Okay.
Great dude,
Yes.
by the way.
Great,
Phenomenal
great,
guy.
great, phenomenal. And his son Anthony is in there as well. So we have me and my son and Anthony and Andy and his son. So
Got a crew.
yeah,
So when did you guys start doing snowplow then?
it's been about 5 years over. Just a little over. This is going to be. I think we're going to go on our 6th season this year.
Yeah. What are the struggles of snowplow? Besides Mother Nature, never knowing.
Just getting a balance. You need a balance, and when it comes to what I've learned over the years is you need a balance of contract work per event work where you want a balance. So everyone thinks, oh, it's gonna snow. You know what I mean? Yeah, that's good and bad, right? But if you're stuck in contract work and you get no snow, that's money.
Yeah.
That's bank. You're not
It's
spending
good.
any labor,
Yeah,
and
you're saving.
and you're making money.
No
you
wear
know?
and tear in the machines.
But those are going few and far between because of the lack of snowing that we are getting those days.
Past couple of years.
Yeah, it's been rough. So people are trying to maybe gamble a little more, saying, "Well, I'll just do per event." But now you're billing every time you go out with salting and all that. So there's money to be made, and that's what I told Joe. I said, Joe, nobody at your age wants to work.
No, not at all.
27, right?
No.
Well, at the time he was 23, 24.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Well, they just
No.
want to get corporate jobs, take the train downtown, go out, do
9 to
this.
5.
Well, they're making
yeah.
money on everything.
That too.
Online money
Yeah,
is
quick
easy.
buck.
Right.
Yeah.
So I said, if you do this right, maybe there's a good chance that you can build something into this, and that's what we're doing. And it just, so it's the thing about the only thing the negative about it is when you grow, you spend more.
Sure.
And in the flooring side, there's nothing. You're only spending more per job. So if I need more labor, so I have a union pool that I can pull more men. But you grow contracts in the land or in the Mark 1 with the landscape and the snow removal. I need more trucks.
Yeah, the trucks.
I need machines. I need trailers.
You got snow
And then
melters. What do you got? Snow melting machines?
We got we got salters that we throw on our trucks, and we got plows that we got to add on. So you got to buy more plows, and so literally this year,
maintenance too,
literally just bought 3 more trucks this year because that's how much more work that we got. So which is a good thing. So
Yeah.
What do you guys do with like trucks too? Is there like a break point with like maintenance versus saying fuck it, just get a new truck or what?
no,
How do
you try to maintenance them as much as you can. You
Because they take a beating, dude.
They do take a beating, but you can't be buying trucks every 2 years either.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You spend
What's a
$80,000.
truck? What's a good truck get you? What's like? What do you want to get out of a truck?
I could probably get, if it's maintenance right, I'd probably get for sure 8 years out of a truck.
That's a good.
It's not
Is
bad.
that good? It sounds good.
Yeah.
8 years. That's a long life for a truck that's getting beat in the snow and salt. Dude.
Right.
But you have to definitely get these guys to understand, and that's where Joe does a good job. Joe's at the shop every morning, and he's making sure that everything is.
Shit's tightened up.
Yep, for sure.
Yeah, it's easy to slip on that stuff if a guy doesn't care. If something gets broken, fuck it. We'll spend the money to fix it.
I got pictures of it's funny, but it's not funny. It's like I got guys that are rolling, big mowers into the lakes.
Wow.
Yeah,
What do you do?
Wait, say that
Yeah,
again. They're
no,
doing
yeah.
Those
these
mowers are
guys
what,
are-
20, 30 grand
Yeah,
for a mower?
they're legit, $10,000 to $15,000, and I remember I bought a brand new mower, and the guy flipped it and right into a lake, and it's just like, the picture was sent over, and I'm like,
Is he okay? Yeah.
he's fine, but there's a brand new mower that's just sinking.
What do you do? Do you file an insurance claim or
Yeah,
is it even
you
worth
can-
it? You know?
What do you do? Do you
go pull it out.
Insurance.
Well, you file
we did pull it out.
insurance.
We
Yeah.
do pull it out, but it's just like
Sell it.
it's comical. This is the stuff
Yeah.
that actually goes on.
Yeah.
It's like you could write a book about that.
I've
for
actually
sure.
never thought of. You see them on those angles, and you're like, "Oh, that looks like he could flip over," but I didn't think that actually.
No,
you know,
this
For
happened
It's gotta
numerous
happen.
times.
Golf courses probably happen all the time.
yeah.
Numerous times.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
gotta
they
try
get
to-
away from you, and I'm like, just jump off it. I don't need a guy getting hurt, but
Right.
you know
No,
what
or
I
flip
mean.
it
It's
on
like,
you.
yeah, but this guy flipped one right into the water.
Oh, jeez.
It's upside down, and I'm like, how does this even happen?
Yeah.
You know.
What's the goal with Mark 1? What's Joey's goal?
And again, take it over and make it bigger. And you know, my job is, the way I look at my kids is I want to make sure that they're set. I want to make sure that, and I don't mean it set through me. I mean, I want to make sure that they're ready to go and they do it on their own, and they don't need their father to literally guide them.
I think that's a key point too. Like if you are a dad or somebody that's, has somebody under your wing, like teaching them how to do something versus the giving it to them, and, not educating them, even if they didn't have it, they can go in any profession they want. Not even they could start their own business and do the same tactics that you put installed from when they grew up to where they're at now to, be successful.
Yeah.
That's huge.
Yeah.
I mean, even in my life, like if I wanted to pivot, do something else, like as long as you have the foundation of how to work and how to grind, you'll get there.
Yeah. You got to have that grit.
But you got to have that baseline, that foundation. If you don't, and we see it all the time too. You see guys that were given a company and then, they don't have the work ethic, or they didn't, grow up with their parents showing them how to do the stuff, and they just run it in the ground.
They use it as their piggy bank, and then it's kind of,
Which is sad,
Yeah.
To see. But I mean, it happens more than you think.
I was definitely the one that said, especially when, my oldest came in, I said, listen, you're not coming in and putting your feet on a fucking desk.
No, you can't.
You're going to work.
you said it to your oldest.
All of them.
Sure,
But you're
yeah.
you're going to work. And when we started snow, and I remember one time, I think Joe was on a truck. I think we had, at the point, I think we might have had 8 guys working at that time. And Joe was on a truck for about 16 hours. And my wife's like, I know Joey's been out there for 16 hours. And I go, I don't give a fuck if he's out there for 36. The shit I had to do to get where I'm at today, that's just what it's going to take.
Yeah.
So I don't care. He's okay.
Well, they take pride in it, dude, because then you see it grow, and you're like, then there's ownership, there's pride.
Fruits of the labor.
Yeah, I mean, it's with anything, dude. But I enjoy that hustle. Like, I don't mind doing the work. Some people don't like to do the work, but I enjoy getting up. Like for me, it's not the cars or the country clubs or this. Like it's doing the work. That's what I remember. The struggles. Hey, this is what happened here. This sucks. This is what we did to pivot. Like and we've talked about this on the show too. It's like it doesn't matter once you reach a certain point of wealth. It's like, okay, you could buy the nicest car, you could buy the nicest watch, you could buy the nicest shoes. It doesn't matter, but you miss that day-to-day hustle and grind.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like it's weird. It's like you're a lion in the forest and you just enjoy that hunt. I
probably removed myself a little sooner than I should. I should have, because exactly what you just said is I miss that, but I don't have, in today's age, 59 years old, it's a younger market, and I can't relate to a lot of these younger guys that are just in this industry, so that's why Mike was perfect to be able to especially being an athlete, what I mean, is once you get connected to another project manager or anything like that guy was that was an athlete, it's definitely a one up for sure.
Sure. Yeah.
Definitely.
Relate.
You have that bond.
Yeah.
I
exactly.
try, Mike took over and now he's making decisions. He's making 95% of the decisions, but I remember when he had to go to my nephew's bachelor party in Naples, and I was home and my son was in Naples on a Friday, and I called him. I said, hey, I'm home. Is there anything you want me to do? While I'm home, I can help you out. And he said, yeah, I need you to do me a favor. And I said, yeah, what do you need? He goes, stay the fuck out of the office. He says, because whatever you go do,
fuck it up.
I need to go fix on Monday.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
It's funny.
So it's
and that's got to be almost like a proud moment for you.
listen,
You're like,
I'm
yes.
not, a lot
damn
of people have
straight.
asked me that. How do oh, you're still in charge. I'm really not. I mean, I treat them both as partners because I don't. It's going to be no good if I'm still the one making the final decisions.
100%. If you treat them like kids and not partners, they're going to feel like that, and they're going to feel just like you did and they're going to want to leave and do their own thing. They're going to feel like they're handcuffed.
Right. And I always said, listen, we make this together. We make these decisions, There's a few times, of course, I would say, no, just do it this way and just be done, and they would say, okay,
Sure.
for sure. But I don't want to treat them that way. I want them to grow and make the decisions. Joe made a decision one time on a monetary decision on a contract, and we got beat up on it, and did for 2 years, and they said, no, you learned.
He's not going to forget again, though.
No,
I'll tell you that.
No.
I mean, that's happened all the time. If you guys are watching it, you're going to make mistakes.
100%.
It's inevitable, and you're making mistakes, but you're not going to go back. You got to eat it. You just got to eat it, make the best of it. Because if you go against your word, you don't do it. It's going to be a bad referral. You're going to have a bad name. Like, you got to just eat it. I mean, it happens with us all the time.
If you're making a passive mistake, then I think that's a negative. But if you're making an aggressive mistake, thinking that you want to do this, but you make a mistake doing it, that's okay, because you're gonna learn.
Yeah, own it and figure out how you're going to
It's
get
the only
out of
way
it.
to learn. And I know that's an old cliche, and I don't want to sound like textbook here, but that's the truth. Bottom line is, the only way to learn how to fight is get your ass kicked.
Yeah, I tell the girls all the time, I'd rather you going 100% miles an hour, making a mistake, and saying, okay, made a mistake, how do I fix it? Like, versus just, I know you made a mistake because you weren't doing 100% of what you could be doing. So if you make a mistake going 100%, not a problem. Let's fix it. Let's move on and not make it again.
And learn from it, for sure. So that's definitely those two. Definitely, as far as the relationship with my sons, as far as when it comes to business, personally, we are best friends, for sure.
Yeah.
We are.
I kind of want to dive into, just talk about, like on the family side, on the more of a marital side, what are some things that these young entrepreneurs that are watching, or people that are, young into their marriage, or just maybe wanting to get married, like, besides finding the right spouse, what are some key things that you think you and Kathy have done over these last 38 years to essentially keep your marriage strong, whether it's when the highs and lows? Because I think that's so big. Because if you have somebody that's with you, you're going to go through highs and lows constantly. But it's just how you go through those waves, which keeps you guys strong.
Well, I would answer it this way. I would say, especially, you get married, and it's great. You married, you think you married your best friend, and you hope that you did, and you get married, you live your life a little bit, and then kids come into play, and then the kids get into sports and schools and this and that, and then and then kids leave the house, and I turn and look and go, when the fuck did I marry you? So my was
She's
always,
a saint, by the way.
I'm sure
She's
no doubt about
gonna
it.
be watching this and be like, what
There
the
is.
fuck, Mike?
No, but vice versa. I'm just saying, in general, you could be saying, well, when did I marry you?
Yeah.
And that's where divorces happen, because now you lose your way through children, because everything's about your children.
Right.
So she always put me first. And I put her first. But she lived her. She was the balance, for sure.
Yeah.
I will give her that. She has earned that. She definitely. But you have to have balance. You've got to be able to stay married. Say, we're going out Saturday night. We're going to get a babysitter. We're going to still go live our life. We're going to go away. We're going to do that. We need to do that, because this is what we signed up for.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a firm believer too. Like, if your home life is all messed up, like business side, it's going to be the exact same. Like, for me, at least, if I got a bad relationship with my wife or something's going south, like, it just bleeds in my business. I don't know if that's for you guys or whatever, but for me, at least, like, I got to be right with my wife. I got to be on the same page. If we're not, it just, shit goes south.
Yeah, you just have to just have an understanding. She has to understand what you're trying to do. You're building your business, and you've done a great job by that, by the way. Mm-hmm. And that's, but you need that balance, that she understands it. Listen, you got the house. I'll bring in the money. Let's build this. Let's get this done, and and support me, and we'll enjoy our lives together when this is all said and done. And that was my biggest thing, and that's what we're at today.
Yeah.
It's got to feel a great feeling.
It's that balance, you know.
a great feeling.
Sometimes you got this, sometimes you got that. It's just the scales aren't always 50%.
You can't just say, well, I got to work. You know, you have to have balance for each other. You married your, you know, if you call her your best friend, and then that's what she is.
Yeah, you got to keep dating her, your spouse.
You know, keep it that way. You know, we probably have probably 33 years, I would probably say right now is probably our best time ever being married, for sure. Just based on, we love being with each other. We love hanging out with each other. We love
grandkids, all that stuff.
You know, so.
How is it to be a grandfather?
It's good.
Yeah.
You know?
A little different than being a parent, probably.
It's exactly what you would think it is. You know, it's like, okay, you know, Grandpa's here and Grandpa's going home. You know what I mean?
So you get a little taste, and
Tracy,
you're like,
your son's crying. Take him out of here.
Yeah. I'll see you later, Tracy.
It's fun when he's not crying, but when he's crying.
No, my daughter named our first grandson after me, for Michael Anthony. So my daughter is.
She's having a girl next?
Yeah.
Yeah. God bless, man.
Yeah.
That's exciting stuff.
Yeah, you know what it is. It is, and it's like at first it's like, oh yeah, you know, I got a grandkid, but now they're like, you know, they run in the house, and my grandson Michael loves donuts, you know, so you know, I'm my
who
daughter,
doesn't like donuts?
I know that, but my daughter doesn't want to have them, but I'm like. So I'm becoming Grandpa No because it's donuts, and he calls donuts no-nos. So it's like
hilarious, dude.
You know.
I love that, man. They say you live longer if you have grandkids, the more time you spend with your grandkids. So
that's interesting.
Well, it takes a village too, you know, to raise a family.
And Mike's son's Anthony, so he's a character too, you know. So it's like it's great to see, you know. But it's like, but at the end of the day, they go home.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
that's right. So you can have your fun, and then it's like, okay.
They go home. You know,
take them back.
That's gotta be weird, especially like us having young kids. Just like see your kid have a kid, like it's
wild to think about. It's wild to think about.
I hope I teach my kids enough where like the stuff that I taught, like I want them to teach their kids. Besides, obviously being a grandparent and teaching them things, but.
They will naturally. Like, here's the thing. I'm sure you probably see things that your kids are teaching their little ones that you taught them. And it's like, whoa. Because I know I see that myself.
It's a few times where I wanted to just put my authority in, and then I look at it like, well, this is not my child. So
right.
I can't crack this kid right now.
Right.
You know, but no, but you realize saying they got to figure it out themselves. You know, I mean, I can't sit here and tell you, hey, you shouldn't do that or you should do this. You know, you need to figure it out. You know,
right.
So you were raised the way I raised you, and if you use those values the way you use them,
yeah, they'll do you good.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, let's pivot here. So now we talked about Regency Mark I. Let's talk about wealth preservation.
Okay,
I think it's a big one, right? Because we have wealth creation with the two businesses. Wealth preservation. At what point in life were you like, okay, I have to preserve this now?
I pretty much took that stand from the beginning. You know, of course, you know, you start making money. You hit on it earlier. You know, next, you know, you're driving a nice car. You know, you're buying watches and stuff like that. You know, and then you realize that the older you get, you realize that's meaningless.
Mm-hmm.
Meaningless. You know, but.
How long did it take you to learn that?
Probably when I was about 58.
Last year. Yeah.
No, I as every year goes by, you realize it's just like, man, what, am I driving this nice car because I want to, or do I want everyone to see that I'm driving a nice car?
Yeah.
Right?
It's tough because everyone gets tied up in that.
It's for sure. That's absolutely, because that's what you think you're working for. You know, that's what... You know, you think you're working for, look what I got, you know, and it probably over the last 8 years is when I just started to just, take a 180 and just realize that none of that, all that matters anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
You know?
Yeah.
So it just keep saving your money. And, you know, and I always said this, you know, I was going back to the young generation about working hard, and you know, and I said to somebody, you know, I can remember when I was 55 years old, and someone said, you know, I said, I would press pause right now in my life. Right now, I would press pause because did well for myself to the point where, you know, I'm comfortable. You know, I'm by all means not a wealthy man, but but definitely have just, you know, lived a life that it's good enough to just, you know, live the comfortable life, you know, and travel, do what I want to do, and raise my kids, and, you know, and build these businesses. And, you know, I realize that what watch I have on, or what car I'm driving, or how big my house is, or what, that doesn't mean anything.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And we see this all the time too. We see like online, like the boys will tell you like, oh, you know, this guy's flashing this Audi or this watch, or like, I feel like it's so now with technology and just social media that just blown up. Like that's the thing. Like that's what you're working for, which at the end of the day, once you get that stuff, like you said, it's like, dude, it don't matter.
Yep. That new car smell goes away after
it does.
3 months, right?
Like, it's almost like a false reality that you're putting out for these people that are watching your stuff, especially when you have influencers that got, you know, millions of followers. It's like, dude, this isn't the end all be all.
No,
like,
right.
It's fun.
No.
It's cool. But once you get that, you feel like, okay, what else? Like, what's next? You know?
Yeah. Mike, you said something, and I know exactly what you mean, but I'm just gonna play this back. You said, you know, you're not a wealthy man, and I know exactly what you mean, not a wealthy man. But I'd have to argue that you are a very wealthy man.
Well,
right?
I know where we were going with that.
You've got
you
an
know,
amazing wife, 3 great kids.
Yeah.
How many grandkids?
I
You
have
say?
2, and the third one coming.
One on the way. You are and you're on the Two Stunads podcast. Very well.
Yeah,
Not too
I
many
couldn't be more
guys.
blessed to be here. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Very wealthy man. So, but yeah.
Well, I appreciate that, and I would agree with you there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But, you know, life is short, and I've learned that over the years. You know, especially at what I've gone through over the last 6 weeks. You know, but all this means nothing if you don't have your health, and if you don't have your family, you don't have anything. None of this matters. None of it.
Amen to that. I agree.
mean, that's for sure. And you know, I look back and see my 3 kids and my grandkids, and knowing that my kids are thriving, you know, and I have and we haven't hit on my daughter or my son-in-law as far as, you know, what I'm saying is that I have a great son-in-law, you know, and who takes care of my daughter well, and my daughter, she still works hard, and she's pregnant. She's, you know, she's a stay-at-home mom, but she also, you know, does hair 3 days a week.
Let's talk about Tracy.
Paulo, you're not going to be, and me and you will not be a customer.
I mean, maybe Drew. Yeah, I would have been a customer for a number of years, but
Yeah, let's talk about Tracy. How was she when she grew up as a kid?
She was Kathy Jr.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's got
tough.
No.
Yeah.
Yes, tough, but not from Kathy, from me. She's got the Roberson side for sure.
Yeah.
You know, in her blood.
Did she play sports?
She did. She played tennis. She was very good at it, but she was very. If she could have transferred practice tennis to game time tennis, she would have definitely had a great career.
Well, it's tough. You got 2 stud brothers that are just you know.
So she just couldn't. She wasn't very good under the pressure when it came down to playing in a tennis match. So she's gonna watch this, and she's
gonna be upset.
No, she gets made fun of, and she's good with it. You know,
Yeah,
so she's good with it. Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
How is it being a dad and seeing your daughter get married versus seeing your sons get married? How is that? Like, obviously, you got to pass the torch, it feels like. 'Cause we both have daughters. I got 2. And it's like, you look at that day, I mean, you go to weddings and you don't really realize it.
Well, you were there. So you were there. You were there for Tracy's wedding. And it was tough. It was definitely a tough, especially my daughter being named after my younger sister that was killed in a car accident when she was, you know, back when I was 17 years old. So she definitely, she took that ball as well and just became, you know, picture perfect as a daughter. She really is. I mean, she just, she started, you know, it's funny, my son-in-law, who is 7 years older than her, and I think they were trying to hide that from me a little bit. You know, at first it was 5 years, and then it was 6 years, you know. So I always
he doesn't look like he's 7 years older.
No, he doesn't.
Yeah.
But he definitely, he definitely was a good guy, you know. But
good.
it was
Yeah.
funny. It was when I came home from, I was in Florida, and I came home, and my daughter and I went. I said, "Honey, let's grab some food. Let's get something to eat." So we went to grab some food, and I said, "What's going on? You seen anybody? You know, living in Florida a
catching
little
up.
bit, you know." So she's like, "It's funny that you say that." And I said, "Well," and she's like, "I met a guy," and I said, "Oh yeah." I said, "Well, what's the problem?" "Well, he was married before, and he has 2 kids." And I looked at her and I said, "Well." I think she was looking for me to rule it down, like, no.
Yeah, she wanted your
we're not,
approval
We're
or
not doing
denial.
this, right?
Right.
So I said, well, is this something that there's a big responsibility that comes with this if it ever does escalate?
Mm-hmm.
So I said, every father has a daughter, holds the path to what they would love to see them go down.
Sure.
But the fork in the road might be just a little bit better. What do I know? Right? So, but I said, okay. I said, she goes, I haven't gone out with him yet, but I've been talking to him. I said, okay. I said, well, if you're asking me that you want to go out with him, I'm okay with it. But here's the deal. You're meeting him there because I'm not in town. My wife and I are really not in town that much in the winter. I says, and I want your brothers to know where you're at all times. So for the first 4 dates, he'd say, I'll pick you up. And she'd say, no, I'll meet you there,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
not leading why.
Sure.
And then finally, so my oldest son comes, and he's like, you're a real jagoff. I said, why? He said,
Because I got to
he's
fucking.
7 years older than her. Dude. Why?
Mike's like, come on, Dad. I got to fucking go to work tomorrow. You want me to watch my sister?
He's like, because, especially Joey and Tracy being so close, through high school, it was hard for her to even.
Oh, no.
He was impossible.
Joey's protective for
Yeah,
sure.
sure.
Impossible.
Yeah.
Impossible.
Nobody's fucking with Tracy, dude.
So
Right.
then he, I finally said, hey, guys, listen, I raised your daughter the same way I raised you. If she needs you, you'll
She's
be
a
the
grown
first
woman.
To, right?
Yeah.
You'll be
No.
the first to know.
Right.
So my wife came home and went to dinner, and they went out to dinner and met him. And then my wife called me. I was in Florida, and she said, I think it's time that you let her pick him up. He's a nice guy. I said, okay. So I called my daughter and said, you know what? If you want to start seeing him regularly and he wants to pick you up, that's fine.
At least he offered to come pick you up.
Right.
To be honest with you, because nowadays these guys are like, "Oh, I'll see you at the thing or whatever," or come pick me up.
Right. I would show up.
Yeah.
If that was the
Like,
case.
I'd be like,
So
Different game today. How many
yeah.
years ago was this then?
this was, they've been married now for over 3 years, and they dated so it's over 6 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
he's a good dude.
Yeah, he's a
Nice.
great guy. He's a great guy. He really is. Hard worker.
He's in car sales, or
Yeah, he's a GM at, actually not too far from here.
Okay.
Nice.
So, yeah, he's a GM at a car dealership.
Yeah,
So-
she's a grinder for sure, especially when you're a mom and you have a side hustle. I mean, it takes a lot to take care of a kid
Yeah, she is.
and being pregnant too.
Fuck. It's no matter what I needed. It was Dad, I got it. Dad, I got this. I got that. It was Dad. And, it drove
Yeah.
my wife nuts because for years she's really not like that. She's only like that with you. I go, that's all I know.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. She wants to make you proud.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Everything was about me. So it was. We have a very tight knit family for sure.
That's great.
And I vowed to keep my kids close. Because I was always concerned about an in-law coming in, and it's happened too close to my family, too close to my friends, where all of a sudden you get a sister-in-law that my son's wife doesn't like my daughter,
Right.
and now next thing you know there's a problem.
Yeah.
And that was the one thing I said to my son-in-law when he did ask for my daughter's hand. I said I ask one thing of you. I said, don't divide my family. My family means everything to me. So if you have a problem with me, you call me. If you have a problem with my sons, you call my sons. We all been there. Get in the car and getting Christmas time and getting your dad's a real asshole.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now we got to deal with him for the next couple hours.
No,
Right.
that's a true statement, man, right there. Because I mean, my story. It's it takes a lot out of you, dude. I mean, it really does, having a split family.
Yeah.
You know,
it does. And it's,
especially on the relationship, you know.
Yeah, I bet.
You don't want to put any
strain
stress on a relationship, especially your kids' relationship.
You're in a position like, well, what do you want me to say? What do you want me to do? That's the way they talk.
And it's
That's
tough
what they say.
Being a father and being like
Right.
selfless, like, you know what? I raised her good enough. She knows what she's doing. If that's the decision she wants, she's a grown woman. I don't want to get involved, but I want to give her my, I don't want you to have to come get my blessing every time. I don't want you to feel that way, because I know you're going to make the right decision. And it's tough to do. It's tough to give those reins.
Yeah, and I've never really had a situation, especially with my son-in-law. I just said, listen, you guys figure it out. You heard my speech. I said, you're gonna run into tough times. You're gonna question your marriage. You're gonna question all this. You got to always revert back to what got us here. Why did we get married?
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I said to him. Just don't divide my family, and let's always be honest with each other.
Yeah.
So that's it, so.
Besides those two guys that you worked for that were more mentors to you, who's a guy now that you're a mentor with, you bounce ideas off, besides the boys and stuff like that?
Yeah, you know what? Myself, honestly, I really don't have anything that if I look for advice, I've been an innovator to the point where I'm going to make the decision. And if I fail, I fail.
Mm-hmm.
So I really don't have anyone that I look up to anymore, because I think I am the oldest of my family that's left, as far as cousins and stuff like that, because, my brother passed in, 6 weeks ago. So he was the oldest of the grandchildren of my whole, my entire family. So
do you like to read or listen to anything, or how do you keep your mind right?
I listen to a lot. A lot of self-motivation, a lot of self-reflect, of all the mistakes that I've made, and growing up. I definitely am one that will sit and listen with the headphones on and listen to things, for sure. Can't read, so.
Anybody specifically that you like to turn on, or?
No, not really. Just whatever comes across, a YouTube channel here and there,
Sure.
Just stuff like that, just to get interested in stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah.
But I just, I believe in no one is gonna. If you're looking for someone to save you, then look in the mirror.
Yeah, I love that.
Because
say that again. Say that again.
If you're looking for someone to come save you, then take a good look in the mirror, because that's the only one that's gonna save you.
Yeah,
I love that. No one's coming to save you.
Nobody is.
You got to save yourself.
yeah.
You got to put the work
Every
in.
day.
Yeah.
You got to pay the dues every day.
Yeah.
And that's it. You can't say it any better, honestly. Really, that's it. You just get up, grind, something that helps you, like you said, read. I wish I could read. I really can't read. I mean, I'm to the point where I can read an email, but I can't concentrate into a book. I wish I could. My wife has tried to get me to listen to books, but my tolerance is
I'd rather sit down like this, have a conversation, debate ideas, things like that.
honestly, when you asked me to do this, and I watched some of them, and I was just like, this, I think this is fantastic. You know what I mean? Because you learn so much about different people.
And that's the purpose, is to take people's life stories, learn what did they do, what did they succeed in, what did they fail in, what would they do differently, so that people can visually hear it, listen to it, understand why you did this, how it happened, what was the cause, what was the reaction, and just learn. I feel like we don't talk enough now. I feel like you were saying, everything is so email based or this. There's no actual communication and bonding, and
Correct.
I enjoy that.
Correct.
I enjoy taking clients out and talking to them, or I enjoy just getting away from technology and whatever it is. I don't care what the conversation is. Just talking in that sense. You need some water there, big guy?
I'm sorry. Something's caught my throat. The dust in the air. I'm sorry,
Take
guys.
a fucking sip of water,
You all
Jay.
right?
I did. I got the whole bottle filled up.
Fucking guy's dying
I'm
over here, dude.
Listen, we'll drag you outside and say we found you like that. That's
Yeah.
for sure. We're definitely not
My
going
wife will believe you. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. No, but Mike's the guy who sponsored me to be a member at Medina back
Oh,
in the
great.
day.
Yeah, that was-
Mike came back. He started back at the clinic. Man, when I was fucking starting out, nothing, dude.
And I didn't, it's funny. We talked about it earlier because when I said, Joe doesn't believe in chiropractor. I mean, he's like, I didn't either.
No.
Neither did I.
I didn't.
Neither did I.
I mean,
We're right there with you.
He made me believe. He
Yeah.
snapped my neck for the first time, and I'm like, don't you ever fucking do that again.
Yeah.
I mean, I met Mike through my wife, and I met him working out for at Dan Loof. He's a trainer on Bloomingdale, but he knew my in-laws and stuff like that from just being in Bartlett in the restaurant, and Uncle Eddie and things like that.
Yeah, I'll never forget when you walked in, and I'm like, this kid played rugby, and I'm like, this kid's warming up at 3:15. Jesus Christ.
See him at the gym
Not
in the
anymore,
morning.
but yeah.
See him at the gym.
I'm like, he's got 3 plates, and he's warming up.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
All the way down.
So
Those were good days, man.
Yeah, and just for the record, you're missed. Just so you know that.
I know.
You're missed.
Yeah, but no, it's been a journey with Mike. I mean, he's seen me grow. I think that's
Absolutely.
like the coolest thing, I mean, especially knowing my mother-in-law and things like that. Like we were talking the other day in the office. Like I really appreciate it. Just like I try to do the best I can for my family, just like you. My parents, I was in and out of being raised by them and my grandparents, and without my grandfather, I would have been a bum, and he instilled family and doing this and whatnot. And so once you reach a success in business, it can get over yourself. Like you can have an ego, you can do that stuff, but I try to pride myself on just staying humble, because at the end of the day, it don't matter how much money you got, it's about your family and your health. And I think it's so crucial to, teach people that, because yes, you do have the stress of having to pay these bills and your mortgage and student loans, whatever it is. But once you get that stuff done, what's really important is that time with your family, being able to teach them, educate them on what to do.
Are you familiar with the term Stunad? By chance?
I'm Irish, man.
I figured.
But I am. I kind of heard it. Kind of.
Stunad's kind of like a knucklehead,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Right. So we asked this to all of our guests on the show here, right? As far as throughout your tenure, right? Throughout your time with the different businesses that you've opened and worked on, some Stunad moments that you've done across along the way. I'm sure there's a bunch.
Is there going to be a part 2 to this, or is that what we're going to do?
Give us
We don't have enough memery card space in the
moment
cameras.
where you're like, why did I say that? Why did I do it that way? Or why did I pitch it that way? Like something that we can learn from.
Wow, that's
there.
a tough.
It could be business, family, whatever you want.
Yeah.
Actually, I got a good one. So, when I was driving, I had to pick up material and deliver it to the job site. And always check what you're picking up, right? You have paperwork, make sure the paperwork's checked. Well, paperwork wasn't checked. And all the material that went on my truck was wrong.
And you had to load that fucker too.
And I brought it to the job. And I delivered it all. And it got installed.
Oh, fuck. Installed too?
Yeah. 3,000 feet.
Oh my God. That's a fuckload of tile.
It's a fuckload of money.
When did they find out you fucking did was wrong
We
tile?
walked on the job and the architect's like, this is completely wrong.
Oh, fuck. So you had to break it up?
So I'm like, I didn't, I didn't even own the company at the time.
Dude, that's a headache.
You
my
didn't own the
God.
company
I
at
did
the
not
time?
own the company at the time. So I'm like, I gotta.
I'm fucked. I'm fired.
So are there
Yeah.
not checks in place before you lay the
No,
tile
it just
down
could be
before you?
simple,
The fucking
just
tile
like
guys don't know.
Right,
They're just
they
fucking
don't.
installing.
They see the material.
The material's there, and there's the blueprint. Fucking put it in, man. You know what I mean?
Stop wasting time.
There's no picture
I go,
of
of
the
course
tile.
you had to put this one in fast.
Yeah.
Normal jobs, you're taking your time, and maybe would have caught it.
Yeah.
The whole thing was grouted, done. We'd have busted it all out. Yeah.
That's a learning life experience right there.
So that was just check everything that goes on your truck, and I just said it to my son Mike today. I go, these guys are workers. They're never gonna be to that next level. So
Right.
if I said. I told him to put all the tile on the truck and get it all down there. He goes, well, they didn't put the one on there, but they put the mastic on there, but they didn't put the other tile on there. I go, did you have it on the paperwork that way? And he says, no, I just told him all the tile. I go, so you're assuming that they think like you, right? So yeah, that was a probably about a $65,000 mistake.
I can't imagine the feeling that you might have in your stomach knowing that you got the wrong tile put in.
Well, knowing that it came down to being my fault.
That's what I mean.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It wasn't because sometimes tile got delivered, not me, you know what I mean? And, and then it got installed, whatever. But the wrong tile was put on my truck. I never got back there, looked at the boxes, looked at the paperwork, make sure apples for apples. And,
Right.
And I just said, okay.
So what systems did you put in place after that? Because you had to be like, this has never
I
happened.
got a pair of readers.
Some glasses and be like, hey, let me
I
put you.
didn't graduate high
everything,
school,
man.
so I don't know. I can't fucking read this anyways. Send a guy.
Honestly, I just said that was it. That was the life lesson that I will never, ever put something on my truck, or I handed it down, making sure that it would have taken 3 minutes to make sure. That's all it would have taken. Because I would have got on the truck and looked at the boxes and looked at the paperwork going, well, this is wrong. Then I would have called my office saying, what's right? The paperwork or the tile?
Yeah.
And then the paperwork's right. So the tile's wrong. And sure enough, it would have been that simple. 3 minutes.
Let me ask you something. when you were realizing that this was the wrong tile.
No, it wasn't one I was realizing.
Okay,
it was presented as
when
it's
it was
the wrong
presented
tile.
What did you initially say? Like, was it that fucking guy gave me the wrong
No,
tile?
I owned it. One thing in business, I always say, you fucking
That's
own
what
it.
you got to do.
Just you fucked up. I mean, I fucked up, and I can't fix it.
Right.
I can help fixing it, and but as a business owner, you're as good as your employees, and I had a bad moment, and it was, it was a life lesson for me. I never made that mistake again, but and then thank God I worked for two guys that just were understanding, and I heard about it.
Sure.
And I
for a long time
constantly
too.
heard about it.
Sure, for a long time.
Breaking your balls about it.
You know what
Yeah.
I mean? So it's like, you got the right tile, and it's like, that went on for like 2 years,
Yeah.
so it's like,
Fuck.
so yeah, but as far as that's the life lessons, like, for sure, and it still happens today. It still does.
I'm sure it does. Yeah.
Oh, we got the wrong tile. You know what I mean? It's like, because especially with the way the industry goes today, it's like we're picking stuff. If I can explain it to you. So architects are looking, you're an architect sales rep. Okay. You're bringing in your tile, Drew's tile. Hey, this is my tile. I sell this. Oh, I like this. But that piece of tile is labeled wrong. So the architect thinks he's picking out flash white with, and it's called, and the name is on the back, but that name is labeled wrong.
Okay.
That's happened to me. And then what happens is now I order the label. Once I get it, you know what I mean? And then we get it ordered, and it comes all in wrong. And then the architect's like, well, that's what we always submit to make sure it's right. And they say, well, that's the wrong tile. Well, no, here's the number. But here's what this look like.
Yeah.
So then you got to go, well, what is it? You know what I mean? It's crazy.
Man.
It's crazy.
That stuff you can't control, but you got to have
Right.
systems in place to make
you
sure.
gotta you gotta have the patience to just do it all right, because it can be very costly, especially at union labor.
Yeah.
It's not cheap.
No.
No, these guys are costing
I've got some family members.
$85 an hour.
I got some family members in the union, carpenters union, and I don't know if you know Tony Guida.
No,
I mean, I don't know if you know any carpenters or if you guys.
I mean we do, but again, where's he from?
It's Chicago area.
Chicago.
Yeah. Frank Bruno.
I know Frank Bruno. I know of Frank Bruno.
Yeah, he's carpenter as well.
What questions you got for Mike?
I mean,
I know you got questions in your head. You ask me all the time.
yeah, I do. I mean, I've asked. I learn a lot about when you fuck up, you own it.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, right?
I always learn the truth. Mike called me one day and said, I don't have enough labor to get this job started. I'm just going to tell the guy called in sick and we'll be there tomorrow. I said, absolutely not. Just tell the guy the truth.
Wow.
I said, the superintendent that's running a big job, right? Actually, matter of fact, it was C.D. Peacock right here in Oak Brook.
Okay.
Okay, I've done that building 3 times. I did the clubhouse. I remodeled the clubhouse, and now it went to the C.D. Peacock, took it over, and then the GC hired me to do the C.D. Peacock. But he's like, they want us on site tomorrow, and I said, I just don't have the men to get there because I'm not finished. I said, well, tell them that. I says, and say, listen, I'm sorry I can't get there tomorrow. I don't have guys available until the following day, but if I get behind, I'll work a little overtime to get caught back up. And the guy's like, no problem. Thanks for being honest.
Right.
Right? And that's the best way to do it.
You don't get that.
When did you learn that though? That wasn't something that you were, because I'm sure you're a hustler. You're like, let's get this.
I probably was caught in a lie, and I realized it's just probably just saying, why didn't you just tell me the truth the first time around? You know what I mean? And it's this way, you develop that relationship with them by just being honest.
Dude, that right there just locked in your relationship for fucking. I mean, if a guy tells me just straight up, I'll be like, wow, really appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, don't worry about it. We'll figure it out. Like, take your time, get your guys right. Like,
well, I know there's a schedule, and that's the problem that we run into. Everything's on a schedule.
Backs
you know what I
things
mean?
up, yeah.
And it's just like I can go through job site. I mean, commercial job sites being, matter of fact, there was a restaurant right down off of coming down New York Road that we did, and I mean, it was chaotic. I mean, it was just, I had the whole floor tile I had to put in everywhere for this restaurant. And the super kept calling my office and saying, hey, need guys here, need more guys. We got to get this done. So my super called me and said, don't send another guy here. There's scaffolding, there's people, there's shit everywhere. There's set up, there's, painters are painting, the carpenters putting all the carpentry up, and, I got guys crawling on the floor, and this guy's like, well, you can have a guy over there and have a guy over there. And I go, well, you're probably smart enough to realize that, you can't start in these multiple spots like that, right? So it's like, so I drove to the job, and I lost my temper. I just walked in. I said, hey man, can I talk? And he goes, let's go by the blueprints. We walk over to his office, and I open the blueprint to the finish page. I go, fucking show me where all these fucking scaffolding is all in here and all this stuff. I go, you got nothing but footage. I go, but I can't get around this.
Right.
Get this shit done.
And then
call me, and I will get a shitload of guys in here, and we'll knock this out.
Right.
But you're piecemealing me here, and you know what I mean? And I mean, I got heated.
Yeah. Well, then also that's going to cause second and third order effects. If you got scaffolding and you got other trades happening at the same time, there's factors that can potentially impact your work, and it's
a hammer falling on one of my guys,
and you're
getting hurt.
That too.
Then we're down a guy.
Yeah.
Not down a guy, but I'm getting sued.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, that's simple. I mean, it's crazy. It's a crazy world, right? This industry is crazy.
Yeah.
It is crazy. It's not fun.
But anyways, did you give Mike his gift?
Give me 1 second.
Oh, I love gifts.
Little care package here.
Right.
That's for you, right
want me
there.
to open up here?
Yeah, you can open it up.
Sure, go for it. Go for it.
We got you these hats too.
Yes, these are yours.
Try getting Dan on the show. I think Dan would be great to get on the show.
Cigars.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you can get him out of his comfort zone.
I know.
So awesome. Thank you so much, man.
Of course.
Thank you.
So
Yeah.
Mike's going to Florida
Wednesday morning.
Yeah.
Oh, exciting.
Wednesday morning,
Good.
I gotta get myself set up back out in my house in Florida, and this means a lot. Thank you so much.
Of course,
Thank
yeah.
you
on
for
the show.
having me.
Appreciate
Man.
it.
Are you kidding me? I had a blast. This is great.
A lot of great information. We're excited. We're excited for that you were able to come on and just share all your experience and
I don't think I'm anything special. I just believe that I believe in hard work and go after your own destiny, man. I mean, no one's gonna help you. No one.
Yeah.
No one's gonna say, hey, Paulo, let me help you.
No, they got their own stuff going
It's never
on.
going to happen.
Right.
No,
They got
bro.
their own stuff.
Never
going
going to
I
happen.
always laugh
I
at
agree.
that.
Yeah,
Oh
I
yeah, the
agree.
government's going to forgive our loans. Okay.
Yeah.
Keep fucking thinking that, buddy.
I voted for Biden because I'm
Yeah.
going to get rid of my
Sure.
student loan.
Yeah. Okay.
Right.
Yeah. You
But,
fucking sheep.
Yeah,
So-
appreciate everybody's tuning in. Thanks so much. We are Two Stunads, and if you got anything out of today's episode, please leave a like, leave a comment, questions. We want to hear them. Appreciate everyone's participation, feedback, and we will see you guys next week.
Thanks for watching the show, guys. Have a great day.
Thanks, everyone.